All right, hey, welcome back. Oh, my voice just cracked. Okay, I should just keep it. I will just keep the take. All right, hey, welcome back to D-Pod, everybody. So today we have our long-awaited second dating episode with the sister staff. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
All right, so we have Kata and Hyuna and Viv here with me in the studio, and we're gonna talk about dating. So the first dating episode with the brothers, it was like by far our most listened to episode. We have like over 200 listens within like a couple weeks. I didn't even know that many people were following our podcast. So what did you guys think about the brothers episode? Let's just start with that. What did you guys think about it? Any clarifications?
I feel like Viv needs to start off this one.
Viv, why do you need to start off this one, Viv?
Because I was my jaw dropped actually in that episode when I heard it, when Stefan was like, what was the question? Like, how did you know?
How did you know that he was answering, how did you know that she was the one?
Yeah.
But then he answered for you. And he said that Viv told me that she knew he was the one when she saw her playing basketball. Oh, she saw him. I'm getting all my pronouns confused. Playing basketball. Yeah, and then so you just immediately fell for him, right?
Yeah.
So that's
apparently
what happened.
It's not what happened.
Let the record show she said yeah.
No, that's not what I meant. That's always taken out of context. But yeah, my jaw dropped because that was not true. It was not true. I just needed to say that. That was not true. But we did play on the same basketball team my freshman year and his sophomore year. That is accurate, but nothing else is accurate. Yeah.
Yes.
Nothing else is accurate. Wow.
And anything else you need to clarify? I see a long list here of things that you wanted to clarify on our notes doc here.
Kind of, yes. So that the basketball thing was one. And then the whole like when he first asked me out, you know, that whole like phone call thing. So what happened was he texted me. He was like, oh, hey, I was in the middle of the workday. Do you have like, he's like, hey, it's Vivian, it's Stefan from Seattle. Do you have like time to talk? And I was like, oh, okay, sure. I'm like free at this time. So we set up a time to talk, and then he called me, and then he's like, oh yeah, like I just, wanted to see if you wanted to get coffee. And then he abruptly said after that, but it's not a date. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay, thanks for explaining that. And then he's like, I said I needed time to think. And he was like, how long? And I was like, maybe, I don't know, like maybe like a week. He's like, a week? And then that's my recollection. And then, yes. But
so he actually said a week?
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was internal.
No, he said it. He was like, a week? And I was like, well,
That's
yeah.
so funny. This is why you need to have multiple witnesses.
Yeah, I guess
get the
so.
full story.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
But-
so one of these days we'll have them both just speak at the same time, and we'll get to the bottom of this. But
Yes.
and then anything else?
Well, the sushi date thing, like it I think he told it in a like, it makes sense in a nice way. Yeah, he was tired. I get that. But it was actually abrupt 180 shift.
Ooh,
No, he was tired. I'm sorry. He was tired. But then it was actually after we ate our sushi dinner, I went to the bathroom and I came back. And then like he felt like a completely different person. So he was like very quiet. And on the car ride back, why it was so uncomfortable was that I was asking him questions, trying to like get to know him. He would respond with one word. And then like after my question, he doesn't say anything and he's just like listening to the music. So after I got off the car, I felt very, very uncomfortable. And then I thought to myself, all right, I think this is it.
It must be over.
It's over.
It must be over.
Yep.
Yeah. I can give you a very simple explanation for what was happening.
Okay.
It's called food coma. So it's his lack of sleep plus food coma. I guarantee it. It's all the sushi rice starting to expand in his stomach. So
Fair.
pretty sure that's what
Happens in
happened there.
marriage, too.
Yeah, happens to me and Kata even now when we eat sushi. So yeah. All right. Well, how about the others? Any clarifications on the last episode, or not the last episode, the dating episode?
None for you, no.
Nothing
Wow.
for me. I just thought it was pretty entertaining.
Oh.
When I was listening to Toph talk about like what they did when they were dating, and like you
5:30
asked him if you had fun or something, and he was like, "Oh," basically he said like, "No, we didn't have fun," and I was like, "Bro, he set it up for you."
I know.
But anyway,
But
sure
that
they had
if
fun.
you know Toph though, that's so like
That's
so
yeah.
like Toph. So
I know. I also
Yeah.
thought, wrong person to ask. Oh well.
She was judging your MC.
oh my
capability.
gosh.
No,
oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
well,
All right,
yeah,
well, why don't you take over? You can call this. You can call it Q Pod from now on.
No, thank you.
All right, how about you, Kata? What was your thoughts? You loved it. I know you loved it.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I didn't have much to clarify. It's more like the story of. It's just so funny how you didn't remember like anything, and it's just
That seems to be a pattern.
Bang, bang.
no. But okay. My perspective of when you called me to ask was that I was so shocked, not because we didn't know each other, but because like we were good friends in college, and then. It's been like 3 years or something, and we were serving in different ministry groups in the same church by that time.
Yeah.
So I actually hadn't talked to DP for like close to 2 or 2.5 years. But then, like the week before you asked me out, I think we were on some like GP-wide, like a church-wide project that involved something with publications and something with video editing. And I did publications for many years for a church. So then I was put on that project, and then you were on the video editing project. And so we were all in one room together under some project manager. And so then like that happened a week before. So then when he called me and I could see his name on my like car, like caller ID, I was like, oh, it must be about the project. Like he must need some asset. I was driving back home, and then I pick up and I was like, hello? And he was like, oh, hi. It's David. I was like, I know. We've been friends since freshman
You've had my
year.
number since a long time ago.
I was like, yeah, I know. And then when you asked me out, I was so shocked because I thought for sure you were going to ask me something about Photoshop.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh. I think that's like literally all I said. And I was like trying not to crash my car either. And then I just, can I think about it?
For 1 week.
That was my
Yes.
my
yes.
POV.
Yes, well, yes, there's lots of clarifications that need to happen. We all have selective memory, apparently. So, any funny stories that you guys would like to tell from when you were dating? Now you have the floor.
Ooh.
So, what would you like to share with our audience?
I think the only thing that I can think of was on our first date, Genji like wanted to go to this park, and we were gonna do a picnic. So then he like bought sandwiches. He brought like a picnic blanket and everything, and then we sat down and we're eating. And then like as we're eating, we see like a lot of dogs around, and then we realized it was a dog park. And we're just sitting there eating our sandwiches, and we see this couple come with like 8 dogs. Like like a swarm of dogs just running around. And then one of them just came in and swooped and like took our sandwich.
What?
Yeah. We're just like, yeah.
So you guys didn't get to eat?
We shared one.
Oh.
But then it was really, it was like a first date too. So it was like, oh, haha,
breaks
that's
the ice.
funny.
Oh, it was your first,
It was our
first in-person date?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, our first date was our first in-person.
Oh, okay. Got it. So now we know that on top of not going to sushi, we should not go to dog parks, especially if you're eating sandwiches for lunch. All right. So anyone else have any funny stories? Maybe except for Kata.
Oh,
Kata
I have
doesn't-
one.
Kata does not have to.
Kata has one. The story I always tell is from our second or third date. I can't remember, but it was pretty early on, and it's just very indicative of what like you were like and what I was like. So I was 10 minutes late coming to our date because I was trying to just look like a little nicer. But I came 10 minutes late, and I remember I got into your car so that we could drive out somewhere and go on a date. And I came in and I said, hi.
And I said, hi.
No. That is not what happened. You had your hands gripping your steering wheel and your head was looking straight ahead. And I came into the passenger seat and I looked at you and I said, hi, again, like second time. And then you just kept staring straight ahead. And I was feeling super uncomfortable. And I was like, something wrong? And then you took a couple seconds and still gripping the steering wheel, you just said, staring straight out, like in front of you, you said, if you're on time, that means you're late. And I was like, excuse me? And then
Oh
you
my
said it
God.
again. You said, if you're on time, that means you're late. I'm like, what? If you're on time, doesn't that mean you're on time? And you were just telling me like your principle that you live by, which is like, why would anyone come on time? You should always be early to everything, which means you were sitting there for way over 10 minutes because you were waiting because you came early. But I would show up late to everything. So then I got in and I was like, this is uncomfortable.
And they got married and lived happily ever
And
after.
it was a miracle. And internally,
Oh, that story is so cringe. Oh, I'm like, my toes are curling as I hear it. Oh.
Were you actually like really upset?
I must have been. I actually don't remember this. Like,
Yeah.
I think I blocked it out of my memory because my recollection of this is purely through story form now, from Kata's perspective.
it was very.
Wow.
I actually don't remember.
every moment
Yeah,
of it.
yeah. I must have
And
blocked it out.
internally, I sat there and I was like, should I just get out?
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh,
then-
man. Yeah.
And then I just said, I'm sorry I'm late. And then you loosened your grip on the steering wheel and then you said, no, yeah, it's okay. And then I was like, okay.
How did the rest of the date go?
I blocked that out of my memory.
It must have gone. It must have gone okay though, because we continued dating, and here we are.
Wow.
Oh, it was supposed to be a funny story, but
It's funny to me.
Oh man, yeah,
It's
I'm
funny.
Funny. That's
I'm
a funny story.
I'm like dying right now. Let's just end the episode here. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so all right, so now let's get into the meat of it. All right, so
Ooh,
what?
Isn't there another funny story you guys have?
Oh,
Yeah. It's
The stats
the stat story.
that you very briefly glazed over last episode.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you did mention
Oh.
it. But then, okay, that was another thing when I was listening to the episode. I was like, why is he not talking about the stat story?
Well, the stat story actually doesn't have to do with dating.
But it's still funny.
So it's a funny story.
It's a funny-
That's
It's
not
just
about
a funny
dating.
story.
Yeah, I see. Okay,
Should
well.
tell it.
You should tell it.
Okay, well, so the stat story that they're referring to is when Kata and I were, I think we were juniors
Yeah.
in college. I took, so Kata was taking a stats class.
An intro to
intro
stats
to stats class, stats 2, I
Because
remember.
it was required for
Yeah,
my
required
major.
for a major. And so I also decided to take that intro to stats class.
When you were what major?
Even though I was within my major, I had taken upper division statistics already. So I really didn't need that class.
So then
and
I asked you, how come you're taking stats too?
yeah, so and I said, oh, I wanted to get a grade booster class, right? I just wanted to
yeah.
boost my GPA
But because of how you were back then, I was like, that's so believable. You are such a go-getter. Like, oh, Berkeley's so easy for me.
Yeah.
Like,
So the theory, this kind of theory that's developed around this is that I must have taken this class because Kata was in it or something, but I think there's no evidence for that. So.
No,
no. There's
So
a
basically-
latte.
Okay, so you took
Shuna's gonna
this
tell the story
class, even though you had taken harder classes before, and then you told her to join your section.
Oh, did I?
You did.
This is true.
I think Kata told me this.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
true. You were like,
Yeah,
why are you in that
I
section?
probably
You
did
should be
that.
in my
I probably said, oh yeah, you should probably take it with our section, like this GSI Tatiana. I remember.
who was the worst?
She was the worst GSI ever. But I
actually.
think I somehow convinced Kata to be in the same section as me, and then
And then my perspective of why I said yes without really knowing what was happening was like, I don't know how to do stats. I need this guy's help in class.
and then you sent her your homework.
oh yeah, oh
Right?
that's a little
Even
bit shady.
without-
Yeah, but,
Okay, that's not good. Don't do
Yeah,
that,
she
guys.
shouldn't do
That's
that. But I might have helped her with homework, even though she didn't ask about it. Yeah, and then there's the famous the closing of this story, which is that on our way to the morning of the final of that class, I knew where Kata lived and I knew the path she'd be
creepy.
walking. I mean, we all knew because we're all friends in college. I mean, she lived a couple blocks from me. So then, but I went early, as per usual, and got a latte and or something. I got coffee for myself, and I bought a latte for her. And then I sort of just kind of waited around the area where I knew she'd be walking to the final, and then I saw her walking.
Wow.
So then, new details being released, yes, and then
I've actually never heard this.
Yeah, and then I saw her, and then I walked up to her. Oh, I got a latte for you, and then we walked to the final together, and I was very happy.
But okay, and then so the question I always get is how could you not have known Kat? And I was like, Okay, let me just tell you, I didn't really do my own homework for Stats 2 all year long because, you know, he was in the class and I was just getting a lot of help from him. So I was like, I am so dead for this final. So I pulled an all-nighter because I was like, I don't know anything. I'm going to fail this final. And so I was trying to learn all semesters worth of Stats 2 in one night. So I pulled an all-nighter and then it's an 8 a.m. final. At 7:30, I'm just walking to my doom. I'm just like in a zombie mode, and I'm heavy-hearted, you know, walking to class. And then he comes up next to me, and I was like, "Oh, hey," and he's like, "Good morning." I'm like, "Hi," and I'm just depressed because I'm gonna fail this final. And then he goes, "I got you a coffee," and I remember not even thanking you. I didn't thank him at all. I just chugged the entire latte because I was so desperate because I was so sleepy. And then I was like, thanks afterwards. And then we walked to the final together and somehow I passed that class.
Nice. Yay.
Good job, DP.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're married now.
Yeah. But you know, the stuff I said last episode about waiting until you're ready to get married to start dating. Yeah, because Kat and I didn't start dating till later. I just wanted to make sure that she was okay for that final. So that's all it was.
Thank
all
you.
right, so,
Thank you.
So unless anyone get wrong ideas from this episode here. All right, so here we go. All right, now let's get into the meat of the discussion. No more funny stories about DP. Okay, so let's start with the similar question to what I asked the brothers. Okay, what are some myths about dating that you believed that you later realized were not true? Okay, what were some of those for you guys?
I can go first. So I think some myths, like, which I think I got from like media. I watched a lot of media as a kid and kind of gained it from like movies or TV shows that I watched. But then like with dating, it's like, oh yeah, you should have like a lot of feelings for this person that you're going to date. And when you're dating, it's going to be magical. It's going to be like butterflies and like, you know, you're going to like feel a lot and you're just going to be so excited and that momentum is going to carry you. I think that's a myth. Like, well, it is a myth because, like, referencing Stefan's like answer from the last D-pod, like, I didn't have like a whole lot of feelings. It wasn't that like things were already there, but I was interested and open to get to know Stefan because I knew him as an undergrad, and I kind of knew that he went to Seattle for a church plant, so he's like he takes steps of faith in his life. So then I was just interested in getting to know him more. So there was like kind of no feelings per se, like before we started dating, because I didn't know him. So I was like, how do you like someone when you don't really know them? And how do you gain feelings when you don't really know what they're like? It's like all built on something that's fake or just in your mind. So I think that was like a myth that got cleared up for me, that you don't have to like someone or like necessarily be head over heels for someone before you start dating them. And it wasn't a very butterfly feeling because like I don't have any butterflies actually to go off of. It's just I'm trying to get to learn and know this person. So that was the process of dating, and I enjoyed that. So yeah, that was something for me.
Yeah. So I think that's really, really important because I think the way that dating or how it's normally portrayed in the media is sort of like you already have this like rush of feelings, and that's sort of what carries you, and that's the reason you would start dating, right? But sometimes that's the case, right? I mean, it's not. I don't think the myth that we're busting here is that in itself is wrong.
Yeah.
It's that. Well, is that necessary? Well, because if dating is to get to know someone for marriage, like. Yeah, you can start dating someone that you don't really know. I mean, and you, presumably then it would take longer to get to know each other, right? But I don't know. I feel like nowadays, like I don't know if people really have that misconception as much nowadays because like even with like dating apps and things like that, I don't know, people are kind of more used to like meeting with random people. Yeah. But then I think what's still applicable is people feel like unless there's immediate chemistry and kind of this like rush, this feeling, then there's something wrong. But I don't know. Like I think it can build slowly, kind of, which was Viv's experience. Very, very slowly. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah. All right. How about you?
I think for me, one myth about dating that I believe, like growing up, was just that like dating is for fun and it's for like pleasure. Like you just like if you like someone, you date them and like you kind of date around and just have fun. And I guess like that got kind of like busted. The myth gets busted, right? Is that what okay, that got busted, I guess, because like when I became Christian, I learned that dating is for marriage, and like it's not just to like, you know, see what type of person you like or like what kind of character traits you are attracted by, whatever. Or like it's not even for that rush, but it's actually towards marriage where you can like where you find someone whom you can do life with and honor God with and serve him with. So then yeah, I think that's something that like I learned after I became Christian, actually.
Yeah.
I think one myth about dating that I believed was that it's just intensely private. Like nobody else gets a window into that, and that's more special. And so, but then like that myth got busted because I heard so many stories at our church from like older people who either gave testimonies about dating and marriage or like just, I don't know, just like older ladies at church and them telling me just random stories. I realized like, oh wow, they kind of like talked about this whole area with their spiritual mentors or even their parents, or like they just invited older people with more wisdom in. So that's like a myth that I was shocked to find busted, because I was like, oh, like growing up, I just thought like it's such a personal decision that only you have thoughts around, and it's all up to you and your judgment, and you make mistakes, and then that's how you learn, and that's the only way to like figure things out as you go, which was really scary for me because I was like, something as important as marriage, like how am I supposed to make decisions step by step on that, like all by myself? So I was jaunted. I was like, this is gonna suck. Like that's how I felt growing up.
Yeah. Did any so when you guys started actually dating, was there anything surprising about that process for you?
I guess the thing that was surprising for me has a lot to do with what Kata just talked about, like getting wisdom from older ones in dating. Because I think I was just really surprised by how much like smoother and like more informed the dating process can be when I bring in older people, and that older person is just Kata basically, because I mainly just talked with her about like different things that I was like thinking about or feeling when I started dating Genji. And I think that was really surprising because like growing up, my parents told me to like focus on studying and like to not date, and like all of my dating relationships like before I became Christian were like behind their back. So then I felt like, oh, it's weird to bring in older people, and I'm not like really, really close to my parents in that way. So then I think I always felt like, oh, it's kind of weird to talk about it with like adults or like older people. But then I just realized that like that's kind of unwise, because like what do I know about Christian dating, you know? And like I'd never done that before, and it's actually like good for me to just talk through it with someone older who has more perspective, who like knows like men better than I do and like their tendencies better than I do, who knows my tendency. And I think like through the dating process, I not only got to like intentionally get to know Genji and like what we would be like if we were to get married, but I think I also just learned more about like myself and like my personal devotion before God and like my own values too, as I just talk with her. So I was very pleasantly surprised when I just like talk things out with Kata.
So like, you know, there's a lot of advice and things that we've probably heard from, you know, people, maybe explicit advice we've gotten, or just from movies and just, you know, things that we've picked up over the years. So how would you answer this? What's the worst advice that you have ever heard about dating?
I can go. One thing was something I heard from my family, actually. It's like, you should date a doctor or a lawyer or someone who makes a lot of money. And so that's kind of something I heard growing up, but it's like, oh, you should date someone with a certain like occupation, or that signifies a good, hardworking person, quote unquote. But yeah, that's what I heard kind of growing up.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, and it makes it seem like if you do that, it's all gonna be like okay or something if you have a lot of money. But it's kind of sad. But we all know that that's not the key to a successful marriage, right? So, something I heard that just reminded me that growing up, my parents told me you can date anyone as long as she's Korean. So, I don't agree with that advice, although I guess I took it. since my wife
I
is
was
Korean,
Korean
but
and Christian.
yeah. Yeah. So anyways, there's kind of these like, these are easy pickings, I guess. These are clearly bad advice. But anything else? What's the worst advice you've ever heard about dating?
Well, one thing that I heard from my aunt was just that I should like date around to know what I want. And I feel like that's just the worst advice because like dating around just like means that much more heartache and drama and like I don't know. I just feel like that kind of like flippant attitude. Like how are you really gonna know what you like want even like if that's like the reason why you're doing it? Like how are you gonna even know that if you're just like your mentality is like, oh, I'm just gonna date around and you'll probably just break up if you don't like something anyway. So then I don't know. I feel like that's not that great of an advice. Because like if you want to know what you want, then you should just like get to know someone, like talk to them and like not have these other things that like kind of fuzzy your like understanding of the person or like your judgment about the person, whether it's like intimacy or like, I don't know, expensive gifts or something like that. I don't know. But like if you want to get to know someone, like get to know what would be good, like you should just get to know them. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think just to kind of hone in on that a little bit, because I think part of, I mean, you didn't say it explicitly like this, but I think part of that advice includes kind of our modern conception of dating as being kind of this physical thing, right? It's when people say date around, I think part of actually what they're implying is that eventually you're going to end up like being physically intimate with that person and that's part of the part that's okay and that's part of the fun of it, right? And so, because I mean, if it's just a matter of like, oh, having to meet a lot of different people because, I'm trying to find the person I'm trying to marry and you're doing that in a really God-honoring way, in a very thoughtful way, I think there's no problem with that, right? There's nothing wrong with like having dated a lot of people, like, and I know people who've done that, all right? I think really the issue, that you're bringing up is sort of this kind of modern notion that, oh, just maximize your fun before you commit to one person and sleep around with as many people as possible because that's just a part of modern dating, right? And I think that would be really, really bad advice, so... Yeah, one thing I was thinking about is sort of, I've heard people say things like, oh, you have to find your soulmate, or you have to find that perfect person. There's that one person out there that you have to find. I just think that's terrible advice. I think that's terrible because I think that puts so much pressure on the the kind of dating endeavor, as if like there's 1 out of 8 billion that you're supposed to find, and like how are you gonna, like, how is anybody supposed to do that, right? And what if they're not here, like in Chicago or something? I guess good luck, right? So no, I think that's really misguided because I think that at least from a biblical view of marriage, and dating and thus dating, what's really important is that you become the kind of person who can commit yourself to someone for life. Right, you become someone who is able to successfully live out a life of marriage, and then God's going to lead you to someone who you just out of your heart you're gonna want to spend your life with that person, right? And then that's the person for you, then, right? And you're going to be the kind of person who can commit to that person for the rest of your life, and it's not because you have found the one, right? So, I think that's bad advice. So don't listen to that. All right. Okay. Don't listen to that stuff. All right. So now let's turn that around though. Okay. So what's the best piece of advice that you have gotten for dating? Now it's kind of hard, right? So maybe that's hard. So what's a really good piece of advice, right? That you would like to share with our audience, that you've received about dating?
One thing for me that comes to mind in this is I had a mentor share this with me, but when you start dating, like, you should date in a way that if, let's say, you break up or if things don't work out, that you should date in a way that's honorable and it doesn't make it hard to kind of move on or let go in that relationship. And I thought that was very helpful because in the context of our church, like, we're so close knit. We live in a community. There's a lot of people that we know, and I want to date in a way that's like pleasing and honoring, and to that other person as well as to God. And so I think that was really good advice because sometimes like you date and things don't work out, but that other person is still my brother in Christ. And so like with that, like I want to do things that are honorable. So then like I mean, for us, it translated to like guardrails. And I think Stefan mentioned it in the last Depot episode. But yeah, guardrails that we wanted to set and boundaries we didn't want to cross, and being intentional and like not moving too fast with like our emotions and different things, but really focus on getting to know that person. So it was really helpful because like sometimes it doesn't work out, and like, but you still are living in the same community in that same way. And so I want to be able to honor, that other person, and honor still that this is my brother in Christ, and that, yeah, it's having that right kind of relating aspect to different people. So
yeah. And if you date someone and it doesn't work out, I would say that was a successful dating relationship because you discovered, okay, well, yeah, we're not the people. But then you can move on from that in a way, like you're saying, that you don't regret, right? And so the way you handle it during that time is really, really important. So yeah, that's good advice. Yeah. Anyone else?
I think one piece of advice I got about dating was like to combat the nervousness, because you do feel kind of nervous, especially in the first couple dates. Like, one piece of advice I heard was try to study that person and see, like, not just in terms of like butterflies in your stomach, like chemistry, which does need to be there, by the way, before you get married. Like, you should like each other, but also like asking myself questions of like, okay, well, I'm noticing this about this person. Like, could that possibly be, like a strength for my weakness, or can that like be, could we complement each other? So that was one thing that I didn't really think about before dating, like just to study the person and actually make observations instead of just being like, well, that felt good or felt bad, like at the end of the date, but to like actually, like figure out like, what did I learn about that person and make observations, and then just even think about like, okay, like where can I grow? As I'm relating with this person. So that's a different perspective I got.
I have a slight funny story that goes along with that because there's something that Stefan observed about me in our dating relationship. It was one thing that he was bothered by, so he talked about it with his mentor. And then it was the fact, this is embarrassing, so I'll just like...
thank you for your vulnerability.
As we were talking, this was like coming to mind. I was like, it's kind of funny, kind of not. But it was on one of our dates, we've been dating for a little bit, and he's like, like one thing I observed about you, or like one thing I noticed is that like sometimes Stefan paid for most things. Right. And then he's like, yeah, I was getting kind of worried that like, is this going to be an issue? Because like, I didn't offer to pay. And then so he talked to his mentor about it, and his mentor was saying, you should always offer to pay. And then so he's like, okay, that's the right perspective. But when he told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, like the reason why I never offered is I had this misconception in my mind that it would bruise his ego if I offered to pay, or if I just paid ahead of time. So then it was always something I was like, oh, what should I do? Should I not? And then I should have just asked about it. But
that's funny.
Like for him, he was like, oh, is this girl like stingy, or like, what is kind of going on? But then he talked to like, his mentor about it. And then I'm really glad he shared that with me, because I was like, oh my gosh, that's not it. I just thought I would like hurt like your ego if I did that. So then from there, it was like a change for me. It was like, oh yeah, like totally, like and I don't mind. But it was just that triggered that thought. So
that's really funny. So for me, the thing that I want to draw out of that story, which I think is maybe another misconception about dating and or just even marriage, but it is sort of the need to communicate and the fact that, like, I applaud you guys for even having that conversation, or like, just to be able to like, hey, so is this an issue? Like, and so then someone from the outside looking at that is like, oh, that's kind of weird and not romantic.
So not romantic.
Like, right? But man, through that, you gain understanding into each other. And actually that's what draws genuine closeness, right? And kind of a more substantive relationship. And so I think that's something I observe about a lot of our couples, which I really appreciate, that they're willing to have, the like slightly awkward, difficult conversations, but that's what progresses kind of mutual understanding of each other, right? So instead of being in this kind of living in this assumption, like both of you guys living in these like assumptions about each other, which is like really strange, right? So, but you'd be surprised how many conflicts in marriage are due to those kinds of assumptions. So it's really important to talk about these things. Yeah. All right, cool. So, hey, oh man, we don't have too much time left, but I did want to just address long distance dating real quick, okay? Because I did notice that a lot of our couples did long distance dating
all
on
our couples.
Huh?
Minus
All our
Nicholas
couples?
and Jeanette.
Minus,
Oh,
yeah,
Nicholas and
Nicholas
Jeanette.
Jeanette.
Except Nicholas, Jeanette,
So
and us.
yeah. So because we were in the same church in the same place, so you know all of our dating was in person, but all y'all did Zoom dating. So or whatever you use, FaceTime dating, KakaoTalk dating,
Skype.
whatever,
I did use
Skype dating, whatever. So
FaceTime.
right, so is that a thing? Like why? Like I actually heard this question before. Like, do people only date long distance at Grace
Like,
Point?
at our church.
Yeah,
That's all
yeah.
we've seen. Oh, I see.
No, the real reason is because, you know, Huna looked around at the Chicago team and she was like, nope. Come on, let's be real now. That's the real reason, right, Huna?
Neither confirm nor deny.
Nah, she can neither confirm nor deny, but I will confirm for you that is what happened, right? So, yeah. I mean, I think it's indicative that, you know, me and Kata and Nicholas and Jeanette, who are both part of large churches where there's plenty of people there, like, you know, we dated in person because we had people there that we were interested in, right? But, you know, you gotta date someone you're interested in, or, you know, like maybe look around and slim pickings. So anyways,
Ouch.
sorry, I didn't mean that to be offensive, but so what was that like though? What was long distance dating like? What were some challenges, and then were there any upsides to it? Any perspectives on that?
I guess for me, long distance dating looked like a lot of FaceTime calls, like just talking with each other when we couldn't be together. And in terms of like in-person like dates and stuff, thankfully Genji has a really like flexible job where he can work remotely and stuff. He's a software engineer. And so then like when he would mostly visit Chicago, and then he would like stay over at one of the single bros like homes for like a couple days, and then we would have just like all day like dates, whether it's like working from home like at a cafe together, or like actually going out on dates. So then I think we met like every month or every month and a half or 2 months, and then other than that it was a lot of like FaceTime calls, like maybe once a week or twice a week. And I guess that's just what it looked like. But,
some people have told me in the past that they really liked that aspect of it because the long distance forced them to talk, right?
Yeah.
Like instead of doing experiences together, which is also fun, and like that's a good, an important part. But like the face to face, all you can do is literally say things to each other, and that in some ways accelerates your ability to get to know each other. So, Viv, was that your experience too?
Yeah. So when we were dating at the time, Stefan was in Seattle and then I was in Berkeley. And on our first date, he told me, hey, I'm moving to Chicago. I was like, oh, okay, great, okay. Yeah, so that was our first date. And then, I mean, it was challenging in the sense that like time zone was different. So getting to coordinate, and then we saw each other once a month. So if we had 8 months of dating, that was like pretty much 8 dates, or like maybe a little bit more if you got to stay for extended time. So that's kind of a framework. So it was a lot slower, but I really enjoyed, because when he came, we got to have extended one-day time together, and it forced us to ask a lot of questions about each other. So I appreciated that part, because like, you know, you can't do an experience a whole day. So then like you get to talk a lot, and I think through that I got to know more about what Stefan's like. So I enjoyed that aspect of it a lot.
Yeah. And I think, you know, nowadays we like recommend, if people are, I think kind of Huna mentioned this, but if people are doing long distance dating and someone's going to travel to actually have in person, then they stay for like longer period of time so that you can have like, I mean, like Toph said in his the episode, he five dates in like 4 days or something, right? And so
Just don't do 5:30 a.m.
amazing, amazing, except for the 5:30 part. So, so then when you finally, because I think for both of you, you know, I guess Genji moved here to Chicago, and then Viv, you moved out to Chicago. So y'all ended up with your significant other here. And so what was different about the in-person, kind of transitioning from being a remote relationship to an in-person relationship?
I personally really liked it because I got to see Stefan in more...
And we would hope that you would like it.
Oh, yeah. Just had to clarify, you know, based on what Stefan said last time.
I wasn't expecting you to say I didn't like it. So.
Wow. Actually, no, just kidding. But I really liked it because it was a first time where I got to see him in a day-to-day context. So like getting to now not just be on a date, which is like nice. You end up, you know, really looking forward to it, but you get to see someone in the setting of an everyday like life
Yeah,
that would be
natural
in-
habitat.
natural
With other
habitat
people.
with other people.
Yeah.
And then we also got to work on some things together. And at that time, it's like it's still exciting because you're finally in the same place.
yeah,
You're
it's super
excited.
exciting,
So I mean, we didn't really have much conflict throughout that period, but it's just really nice getting to observe like what he's like, how he interacts with different people, students, how he interacted with Emma at the time. Like he loves kids, and I got to see that. So I was glad to finally be in the same space. But I didn't mind the long distance dating, but it was like refreshing to be able to have like being in the same place together in the same context and getting to work on different like ministry projects together too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed it too. And
Right answer.
and I think one thing that I appreciate, of course, it's like about it's nice to see like how it was nice to see how Genji like interacts with like other staff or like the kids and different things like that. But I think it was just also nice to see like or like observe like different ways in which like he like served or like did little things. Like I noticed that like he's like willing to be helpful in like the kitchen or like try to like take out the trash and stuff. I think I just like noticed like just his different like his character and like his discipline and stuff too. So I appreciated that.
Yeah. So just trying to wrap up things here now, but I do need to ask this, right? Because I asked this to the brothers too, but how did you know that he was the one, right? So I guess in all your situations, like you have to say yes or no, right? So how did you know that? Maybe Kata can start since I don't know if I'm actually really curious what you guys can say. So
Well, okay, so we dated 9 months, right?
I don't remember. Yes.
And we were
Viv just gave me this look like,
this is normal. It's okay. It's all right. So
let me do the math for you.
within like the 9 months of dating, I think I kind of knew it was going towards marriage, like beginning half. And it was more about like getting to know each other on a more granular like level. But then I think because so much had already like been established, as in like, I don't know, if someone is serving God very concretely and you can see that, like there's a lot that you can know about a person pretty quickly. And so for me, it was like yeah, I don't know how to answer this question. I liked him.
That's the right answer. That's the right answer.
so
and you
then-
wanted to live the rest of your life with me. All right, next.
No, okay. To sum it up, there was stuff that I really needed to find out about his commitment to God. That was established very quickly on. So then after that, it was just a matter of like, can I even envision like, living the rest of my life with this person? And I think like we liked each other pretty quickly after we started dating. So
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that I should propose a lot earlier. So
yeah.
all right. She was ready at like week 3.
No. Week 3 is when you corrected me about my
shoot, never mind. Oh, my toes are curling again.
got away
Okay.
with
All right. Okay. How about others? How did you know? Hyuna.
I think for me, I knew there wasn't like a moment. It wasn't like, I don't know. Yeah, a moment, a look or something.
Oh, look.
I don't know. Like,
Oh, is that a thing?
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Some people say that, but that wasn't me. I think for me, it was just as I got to know Genji more, I got to just hear about like his like devotion to God and his like how he is able to keep to his commitments like that he made to God in response to like truth he hears from like his friends or his mentor or in response to like messages or God's word. And I think like just seeing that he has like solid character like that made me feel like I could trust him and trust his judgment and like I could see myself like doing ministry with him and serving God together for the rest of my life. So then I think I don't know, that was just it was just like a gradual realization. And I guess it did help that like we liked each other too. Like there was just like attraction, I guess. And then also just like I feel like we could have fun. We could have a good laugh even if it was like dumb stuff too, which I appreciate in like relationships in general. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine Genji listening to this and smiling really big and swelling with
I
pride.
said it all for you. I'm just kidding.
But it's kind of funny that you guys keep saying like, "Oh, I guess I hope that it liked each other." I'm like, that for me, that's a prerequisite. Like, of course you should like.
Oh, okay. Just to clarify, yeah. I mean, obviously, like if I didn't like him, I would not marry him. So I liked him. I liked him a lot. That's why I said yes.
So funny. I think that we're such college ministers, and we want to make sure that our students really like understand the right principles of dating. That we take the really basic things like, I mean, there should be some chemistry, and you should like each other, like to be granted. We don't even have to say that, basically, right? Okay,
Yeah.
like, y'all assume that. So all right, Viv, what about you?
I knew Stefan was the one when he got on one knee and he read me a nice letter and proposed.
Wow,
I'm just kidding.
wow, that's nice. You didn't know until that moment.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. But that was, yeah, anyways, it's actually very similar to what Kata and Hyuna have already shared, but it was a gradual moment. And to be fair, I did like him. So yes, I did like Stefan, like as we started the, in the dating
After
process.
8 months.
That was when I started getting more comfortable with him. It's because whenever we ate, it was really hard to sometimes talk. I don't know why. Anyways, but but anyways, I still had a lot of fun with him. But I think being able to see his character, being able to see kind of what he's like and know about his aspirations and kind of his visions of life. And as I got to know him more and my feelings developed based on what I saw and what I like his character and his heart for people. And then from there, I was like, okay, I think I can really see myself like spending the rest of my life with him. And so that's how like I kind of, it wasn't like all of a sudden one moment I knew, but it was like through that gradual process. And I liked what I saw. I liked what I heard and I observed. And yeah, I was willing to kind of take that step. So, and so yes.
Nice. Thank you guys for sharing that. So last question, okay? Last question is, what's one piece of advice that you would give? Just now, it's just kind of open-ended. All right. So as you think about kind of people who are single, thinking about dating, or undergrads who are kind of just wanting more wisdom about this area of life, what is something that you want to leave them with?
I think for me, like the first thing that came to mind, and I think the thing that was most beneficial for me is like in college, I think there's the excitement of dating. Like you just want to date and you just kind of want to experience it. And I think at some point in college, I really wanted to do that. But then just wisdom from different mentors and different people that I looked up to who decided not to date. Like I was really glad I made that decision. Like, I don't know, it was like getting to know my friends. I needed to grow in different ways. And I really appreciated that time where it was like free to do that. And I wasn't so obsessed about like the person that I liked or like needing to date and allowing my bandwidth to be spent there. And even after college, I remember the first few parts of after graduating, getting to spend a lot of time with my peers and getting to form as a person. I had so much fun. I had a lot of fun, and I wasn't like exactly dating at the beginning, but I just got to know like a lot of people and form myself as a person. And so like, I thought it would be the end of me for not dating in college, but it wasn't. It actually brought a lot of life in that way. So I was really thankful that I wasn't so bogged down with that area. And like, I mean, people are nervous about it because they're like, oh, like, but what if I can't find the one later on, or it's going to be so hard? But I think it's an exercise of trust in God in this area. And I'm really grateful for how God led my life through that. And I've formed a lot of solid relationships with my friends and getting to develop my own conviction. So I was grateful for that time and space to do that.
Yeah, so it sounds like you like actually made a decision in college to not pursue that area of dating.
Yeah,
right?
I did. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember it was a challenge because I was like, but then I was like, I'm gonna let it go and see where that takes me.
Yeah. And it was so that you could focus on other areas of growth in that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar to kind of what some of us shared in the other episodes. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hyuna, how about you? How about we just end off with you?
Okay. I think one piece of advice that I would have, as you think about dating and the excitement of dating, like to not neglect like your personal relationship with God and to continue to grow in it and to develop it, because like dating is gonna be for marriage, and like marriage is for the purpose of like spending your life with someone with whom you can like honor God for the rest of your life. So like if you have sin issues or like relational issues with God, then like those things are not going to change just because you're married and you're like happier or whatever. But like, I would just encourage people to like, yeah, like dating is really exciting and you should really, really enjoy it. But at the same time, like don't neglect like your relationship with God and don't neglect like those spiritual disciplines.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And part of what I'm hearing Hyuna say is that like even as you're dating, right? As you're dating, to not get like enveloped in that, right? And I think one thing I appreciate about how a lot of the younger ones and you know, and personally how I think Kata and I try to approach our dating relationship is that we're going to do it while still doing all the other things we were doing, right? I mean, obviously it takes up some of your bandwidth, right? Because it takes time to do just practically to be in a dating relationship, but to not suddenly stop every other relationship and every other area of like ministry and work and you know all these important areas. We're going to still try our best in all those areas while trying our best to handle the dating relationship in a really God-honoring way. All right, so thank you guys, thank you everyone. And I think before we end, I think Viv wanted to tell a joke.
Yeah.
What? Okay, why don't you end us off with a joke?
All right. Okay. My joke is, at what time of day was Adam created?
In the beginning?
No, it must be evening.
It was a little bit before Eve. It's Adam and Eve. It's like they're a couple, you know?
Right here.
Oh.
Crickets.
Is it
All
this
right.
one?
He was always doing that. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this podcast. And that's it for today.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. That is the second of 2. So that's our last dating episode. And then we're going to hopefully produce 2 that are about marriage itself. And that'll be interesting. All right. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody.